Hey, welcome to another store show video. In today's video, I finally have the highest tech non-stackable sorter behind me. Now, I do want to just mention this is not the full non-stackable sorter. This is just the main part of it. We have a separate system for dealing with discs, mainly because of how Hyven likes to deal with them, but also because we have a really special idea of using ID items in a box from farms to sort non-stackables. So for example, you can sort non-stackables with totems, for example, from a raid farm, and other things like tridents from ground farms. These things are normally not able to be sorted. Tridents you just have to manually pick them up, but otherwise they cannot be sorted without the use of allays or, in future, the copper golem. However, those are nasty creatures, and I refuse to use them. I like pushing the game to its limits, and I've sort of proven that with this Nonstackable sorter. There are things in here I thought couldn't be sorted, and boom, I've sorted them. I do just want to mention a few credits before I start. First of all, Command Leo for, getting me sort of into non-stackables, and also everyone that's helped in the development of non-stackable sorting from the very beginning. People like Kairu, they helped a lot with, I believe they found the system I sort of use to sort potions, books, water, all that sort of stuff. I believe they also found the concept for snow sorting, but yeah, huge shout out to all of those people. But anyway, let me show you this rather special non-stackable sorter. Alright, so here is the non-stackable sorter, running in all of its glory. There is so much going on. We have a snowman that likes to jiggle around a little bit, we have minecarts moving around, we have pistons and lava, and oh my word, there's so much. So let's break this down. First, we sort out all the discs via a jukebox, so droppers can put discs into them and they get sorted. The next thing is bottles and books. Then we move on to shears, flint and steel, and brushes. Those are sorted in a quite interesting way. We then move to liquids. We use the fact that snow can't be pushed to sort that. We then move on to boats, chest boats, rafts, and chest rafts. The way they sort those is quite cool. I have a video dedicated to that. We then move on to sorting netherite. And then we sort carts, and anything that's left over from there is our non-sorted. To clear up any confusion, this does not sort totems, that is the non-sorted output. So, everything here can be sorted with this non-stackable sorter. It is 20 items, or 19 if you don't include dog armor. This is a side product of sorting brushes, and the scutes can't be used for literally anything else, so what better way to deal with them than to just make them into dog armor and throw you in your non-stackable sorter. Eventually this will be able to do 35 items because we separate the discs into their 15 types, or 34 again if you don't include the dog armor. I actually was gonna leave it at just a demonstration of this, explain a little bit about how it works, and call it a day. However, I actually want to take this opportunity to actually discuss how these items are sorted. Non-stackable sorting is a really interesting thing, and I feel a lot of people just look at this sorter, go, ooh, that's scary, and never touch non-stackable sorters ever again. Quite frankly, there's a lot of development to be done here. Quite recently, I found out that we can sort the chest boats and rafts because, I experimented, and I feel like a lot of people don't do that nowadays. They sort of just look up whatever they find in an archive, use that, and call it a day. So, my solution to this is I'm going to explain how every single thing in this sorter is actually sorted. Even if you know non-stackable sorting, I would actually recommend you watch this, as it gives a brief idea of how the system works, and how any other non-stackable sorter should work. there is a certain process you have to take. For example, you can't just immediately sort carts, because if you dispense the lava bucket into a rail, oh boy, your cart sorter's broke. So yeah, I'm going to explain how this works, and if you want to stick around, by all means stick around. If not, I hope you have enjoyed. Anyway, okay, so let's start with how this system starts. For this part, there isn't really an order needed to take. These can be sorted at any point in the cycle. However, we start out with sorting discs, and we use the fact that you can put discs into a jukebox with hoppers and droppers. However, when a disc is played, the jukebox actually turns into effectively a redstone block and locks all of the inputs and outputs. So we have to use hopper carts going every 8 game ticks to sort of take the disc out. Next, we sort bottles, and this is done in a similar way, but we can actually use hoppers for our output. We just see if the item can be put into a brewing stand. The same is for books, we just use a chiseled bookshelf. We then move on to sorting the flint and steel, shears and brushes. Now, these are done in a pretty unique way. So to sort them generally, from other non-stackables, you can have a dispenser facing into a honey block, and this will sort every single non-stackable into the honey block and a hopper below. And the shears, flint and steel and brushes are all sent along their way, because they stay inside the dispenser, and we just have a hopper below that to take them out. To sort flint and steel, we again have another dispenser, but we actually just detect the output. So we have an observer in the block where it would normally be placing its thing, and it's important to note there is no block below it. This is because when a flint and steel is used, it tries to light a fire, can't, but the observer still detects it. So that is how we sort our flint and steels, because we just use the pulse from the observer. To sort brushes and shears, we use an armadillo in a similar way. So again, we have a dispenser into the armadillo, shears will do nothing, and the brush will brush the armadillo. It will drop a skew, and it will go into a hopper, and then we can just sort of detect that. How we sort liquids is also quite interesting. So again, another dispenser. However, we fire it every 4 game ticks when there's an input. So if there's only one item coming in, it will fire twice. This is so that we can dispense the liquid and pick it up. However, if it's another non-stackable, it just goes straight past. It gets spat out the dispenser. The way we sort water is we do that same process, but we put a stair or any other waterloggable block in front, and the lava and snow will get ejected out of the dispenser, and the water will be placed, picked up, and taken out again. The way we sort lava and snow is because snow can be pushed, so if we put a slime block next to the area it would be dispensed, we can actually just fire the piston at a correct time, and with an immovable block below it, it will either extend if it's lava, or be stuck if it is snow, because it can't move the snow because it's an immovable block. So that's how we sort those. Then with boats, rafts, chest rafts and rafts, we use the different seating positions. So our dancing snowman was actually being put into a boat. We detect its seating position and it leaves the boat. I do have a full video on that in of itself, but quite simply, that is how that works. It is literally just detecting the seat position, because in a boat, they sit normal, in a raft, they sit slightly higher, in a chest raft, they sit slightly higher and forwards, and in a just chest boat, they sit slightly forwards. Netherite is actually sorted in a really cool way. So unlike Java, we can actually sort Netherite while keeping our output. If you have a dropper into a honey block, it gets aligned in such a way that it can fall through a lava, but also in a water, so the item doesn't burn, and can be, because of the way Bedrock works, items can light campfires. So we just detect that, extinguish the campfire, wait obviously the next 8 game ticks for the next item to come through and check again. Obviously only regular items will catch fire, whereas Netherite, because it doesn't burn, won't. The way we sort carts is also quite interesting. We first use momentum to sort them. Container carts and normal minecarts have a slightly different weight. These are base weights because if a cart is filled with something, the weight changes. However, we don't have to really worry about that. So the base weights determine how far a minecart will travel when it falls off a rail, and we detect that with obviously just making it fall further enough that it falls on 2 different rails. A minecart will pick up an armor stand, whereas a TNT minecart won't, so we can again use that to sort them, because the armor stand can just hit a pressure plate. However, for chest and hopper minecarts, we can sort them based on the fact that hopper minecarts can take items from a container, whereas obviously the chest minecart can't, unless it's a hopper pointing into it. Now what's really interesting is we can technically sort command block minecarts too. See, they have the same weight as all the container carts, which somewhat makes sense, but not really. However, I mean, who really has a bunch of command block minecarts they need sorting? If you are interested though, the way you sort them is the fact that you can put an item into a chest cart via a hopper, but obviously you can't a command one. It should also go without saying, do not, I repeat, do not throw TNT into this sorter. You are just asking for this thing to blow up in your face. That also goes for throwable items like tridents. If you put those in this sorter, you will end up with them stuck somewhere inside of a block. I'm sorry, but I did not feel like putting trident protection in this, because they sit around regardless, so just making them slightly easier to pick up didn't seem like a necessary step for me. And as I mentioned, we have our own special ways of sorting those items, so it's not even an issue. If you are concerned, use an allay, sort them. I will kill you if you use an allay, but oh well. Heaven forbid, do not use the copper golem though. If you use a copper golem, I will find you. Anyway, that is everything I have for this video. If you have any questions, leave them below. And there will be a world download for this sorter now, because I want to find any bugs in this. I usually do it myself, but hey, what's better than asking an entire community of people to find it for me? If you have any issues with it, feel free to ping me on Discord. And if it's a serious issue and I need to redesign the non-stackable sorter, I will be throwing myself out of a window. Anyway, that's all I have, and I'll see you next time.